I'm Romero.
And I'm Chris.
The world we live in is weird, and you're liable to get lost without someone to guide you through it.
Unfortunately, we aren't those people. Join us each episode as we share the strange, bizarre, and downright unnecessary in an attempt to better understand the world around us.
And say whatever we want along the way.
Because this is the Non-Experts Podcast. We told you that we would be back, and we are keeping that promise. Wow. It's season 5.
This is big time.
This is big time. And I was looking at, as I always do, looking at old episodes. We started this like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's insane to me. Like 3 years doesn't seem like a long time, but like when you think about it, that's 3 years, like freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school. Like that's a big jump.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm glad that we're still here.
For sure. I mean, I think if you were to go back and talk to like 22-year-old us going on 23 and say, hey, you're still going to be doing this after your 25th, you're like, you'll still be working on this, and hopefully for many more months and years to come, we'd be like, would be nice, but I doubt it.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
like it would be cool, but it doesn't seem likely. And here we are, season 5. Just back and better, hopefully.
Right.
If you disagree with that part, then we're gonna ban you.
Right. No, we definitely, I think this season we are starting off better because we have a brand spanking new website. I mean, we had a website a little bit last season, but this time around I actually went and sort of built it myself. I mean, I used Wix. So I mean, it's not like I actually was coding or doing anything like that.
I mean, you're not an expert, so I wouldn't expect anything.
Right. But no, I was able to go in and customize it to the way, you know, that we would want it and put things in there that we want. So definitely go check it out. nonexpertspodcast.com. Super easy. I will say, for everybody that's listening, shame on you, because I asked you last season to go and leave us a voicemail so that we could have a segment that we could listen to them, and not a single person left a voicemail. So, and I know that it's not just ghosts listening to our show. I know there's people listening. So if you're listening right now, whether you're on your phone, your laptop, whatever, I don't care. Go to our website right this moment. You can do it at the same time as I'm talking. Super easy. And if you're on a computer, there'll be a tab on the side that says leave a voicemail. Click it. They'll be taken to it instantly. If you're on your phone, there'll be 3 dots on the bottom of the screen. Click that. There's an option that says leave a voicemail. And just go leave a voicemail. It can be whatever you want. I don't care what it is. You could say that you hate us.
Also, for the record, it doesn't get much easier than this. You can type that out or just record you saying something.
Right.
It takes zero effort to just hit that little microphone and just start rambling. You could tell me how horrible you think I am on a consistent basis. Now Chris carries this show. You can tell Chris that you just hate everything he does, and we would thank you for it, because it just gives us something to react to and laugh at.
Exactly.
Kind of like when that person commented on our show that we had on YouTube a couple years ago. Just for some background, guys, we had a show called On the Inside. In that particular episode, we were with a horse trainer at Grant's Farm, and she trained the Clydesdales. And somebody commented about like myself and the other young woman that was hosting, and they commented about our grooming skills with the horses, as if we worked with the horses.
Right.
And it was just something to laugh at for us. Yeah. Like, we didn't take it seriously. I actually commented back and was like, thanks for the insight. I'll make sure to keep it in mind next time I groom a horse. You know, leave us something so we can give you feedback. And
while you're there, you might as well go ahead and leave us a review, or definitely a rating, or a review if you would prefer. You know, it helps us, and it helps us know exactly what we should be doing right and what we're doing wrong. And it's just, it's great to know that people are listening, which I already, you know, we already know that people listen, but it's great to know that they're hearing what we're saying. You know what I mean? Like it's just affirming that, you know, we're on the right track, I guess I should say, but I don't know.
I'd also like to take a special second to give a shout out, first and foremost, to my Uncle Harry. That's the uncle that I told you that's been like listening in my mind from the shadows because I didn't know he'd been listening up
Right.
until this
Yeah.
past summer. And also, my good buddy Luke, I used to work with at Vantage. He binged all of our last season because I forgot to let him know last season that like, hey, we're actively putting out episodes again. Because he texted me like months before we started and was like, what happened to the podcast? And I was like,
Right.
well, we're working on it. Life. So
Okay.
he was working on a project in his house and binged the whole entire season 4
Nice.
in a day. He was like, oh my God, I love it. So special shout out to those two gentlemen. Hopefully you continue to enjoy the show.
Yes.
Uncle Harry, stop being a weirdo. Leave us a voicemail. Do something weird on the voicemail. It'll make me laugh for sure. So.
Remember, which seems surprising as I'm like our biggest fan. I can't remember whether or not we talked about this. I feel like we had. Maybe it wasn't on the podcast. Maybe we just kind of talked about it, like, in our personal lives. But do you remember the whole business with R. Kelly? Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he is in jail, but he definitely is not staying silent. He's actually released, not released, but he shared portions of a song that he wrote. And he did this on his 54th birthday. But he shared a song from prison that I thought was worth talking about. If you are not aware, he is currently behind bars for sex crime charges related to 6 women and girls. It was a whole mess. He did a whole interview with Gail. And she's
I'm fighting
like,
for my life.
She's like telling him to sit down.
Robert.
Right, Robert. Anyway, the prison. And yet we're laughing. The prison balls were not enough to stop him from taking to social media on his 54th birthday and addressing those who have confronted him. So he posted a photo holding up his championship belts, and he uploaded a verse from, it was, I believe it was a 2011 song. Or maybe he wrote in 2011, I'm not sure. Not expert. The lyrics are, though, after 22 years of a blessed career, had me lying in my hospital bed crying mad tears, but just as I have many people hating me, had so many people loving me, and let's not forget the hood around the world covering me, and to everybody that be calling me, telling what they've been saying about me, bringing me all this negative shit, y'all the ones I ain't effing with. And then the chorus says, can I get a witness for all this when people all up in your business tell them to shut up? And I kind of rambled through that, but yeah, he's kind of telling everyone that's accusing him to shut up. So he really ain't innocent till proven guilty, I guess, but he ain't really owning up to anything at this point.
Yeah, Robert.
Robert.
My biggest issue with him, I think in a lot of cases you can separate artists from their art.
Right.
But in the case where you're being accused of being a sexual predator and 80% of your musical catalog is about sexual acts, it's hard to separate the two when, in my mind, you likely could have been thinking of an underage woman when you wrote this. And no matter how good the song may be, it's kind of hard to ignore that.
Right.
And also, I mean, this is something that's lingered for years now.
Yeah.
So to still try to be like, nope, I didn't do it. Like, come on, man.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody and their mother pretty much is 85% confident that you actually did do this, because no way this still just lingers around without any validity.
Right.
So to just be like, nope, shut up, I didn't do it. Oh, okay, never mind. You're right. Sorry.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Carry
you
on.
got me. Fine. I'll drop it.
He's scheduled to go to trial in early April, so that's coming up soon. But Yeah, I just thought that was interesting that you know, well, except for another person who I'm thinking about. Most people, when it gets to this point, they kind of give a little. You know what I mean? Like they're like, okay, like
What were you thinking about, OJ?
no, but that's a good example. Because
OJ did it. That's another story.
that's not a question. Like
He's found ways to keep getting himself in jail because he knows
Right.
where he should be. Like that's my theory, at least. Maybe that's a conspiracy. But you got away with murdering somebody,
Right.
and then you kept going to jail for stupid things. It's just because in the back of your mind you're guilty and you feel
Right.
bad, so you're like, I'm just gonna get put in jail somehow, and they keep letting
Right.
you back out. That's anyway. Carry on.
No, it's at this point, most people would kind of be admitting it a little bit. So it's interesting that I don't know if it's just the fact that he doesn't want to, or it's just the denial in his head is just so much that he can't.
I didn't do this at all.
Right? Yeah. Reminds me of a certain political figure, but yeah, wonder who that is.
Who could you be talking about?
Right.
Well, ironically, earlier this week, or I guess I should say last week, I did hear a unreleased song from him called "Shooter," and I'll send it over to you just so you kind of understand what it is I'm referring to. But it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because he is so musically talented, and part of you really wants to enjoy it, but it's like I don't get down with predators, man. If you really know us, we did a skit about this before. We are very much anti-predator here at the Non-Experts Podcast. So that's rough, buddy. I would like to discuss the Weeknd.
Okay.
Not
You mean
like
Saturday,
Friday.
Sunday, or oh?
Unfortunately, those never last long. However, the musical Weeknd lasts forever, according to his Billboard chart success. But no, so if you are a fan of his, or if you're one of those weird fans that likes to call him by his government name, Abel, he put out an album in 2020 called After Hours. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, if you're really a Weeknd fan or not.
Oh yeah,
it's phenomenal, right?
It is.
So anyway, an amazing album.
Yes.
With an astonishing 0 Grammy nominations, which we'll talk about that some other day. But with that album, he's kind of done like characters through his last couple of albums. Like if you remember the album Beauty Behind the Madness, he had a music video where he like killed himself.
Yeah.
Like, so he's done these weird things through his music videos, and they've been like a story.
Yeah.
So with this album, he's been wearing this stupid red suit for a year now. Kind of reminds me of like Tyler the Creator when he had Igor. He was always wearing these weird suits.
Yeah.
The Weeknd's always wearing this red suit. And in some of his appearances, he's got like scars or like a bloody nose, or like he's been beat up, and it's gone along with his music videos. And then I think it was the AMAs. He showed up and he had like medical wrap all over his face.
Oh yeah,
as if he just had surgery of some sort. So recently, like within the last week or so, he posted a picture, and his face is just absurd. I mean, like his jaws are super sharp, his cheekbones are really high and like super defined. His lips are humongous. His nose is really big and narrow. A lot of people have said he looks like handsome Squidward.
I saw that too. Yeah, he does look like handsome Squidward.
Kind of does. Now, like I said, if you've been paying attention to him, it kind of goes along with what he's been doing with this character.
Right.
Like he just had surgical tape and everything, and now boom, here's his face. So he just put out a music video for a song off the album After Hours. It's called Save Your Tears. Essentially, the music video to me just seems like he's like pissing on the Grammys.
That's what, I that's the vibe that I get from it too.
So the look is for the music video.
Right.
However, the internet, being as stupid as they tend to be,
Right.
saw the pictures and assumed that he got plastic surgery. Genuinely.
Yeah.
Now, here's my thing, right? I could see if maybe his lips just were super big and the rest of his face was normal, or if his nose was different and the rest of his face was normal. I could see you being like, oh my God, he got work done. Why? Dude, look at his face. Like, this is what? Who would do this to themselves?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
how sick do you think this person really is? Somebody that's literally looked the same the entirety of his fame. The only thing that's changed is like his haircuts. Why all of a sudden when I want my jaws to like protrude out like an inch and a half from my face and have my lips be just as big as they could be,
Yeah.
and my nose is all big and tiny, like at the same time? It doesn't even make sense. And the cheekbones, just it's ridiculous, right? Why would you think anybody would really do this to themselves?
Right.
But then also, if you do 2 seconds worth of Google, he just put out a music video
Yeah.
that like continues the story of all the music videos he's put out over the last year.
Yeah.
So to me, the obvious resolution here, cosmetics. It's makeup. It's for the show. Nope. He had to have gotten surgery, reconstructive facial surgery.
That's the only possibility.
In the midst of his peak, no, I just want to redo my image totally.
Right.
This is what I
will
want to do.
say, there is a little bit of validity to the people who think that it's real, because it is a very convincing job, and it looks really real. Like
it does.
When I first saw it, I kind of went through like those 5 stages of grief where I'm like, is that real? Oh my God, is that real? All right. But like you said, like 2 seconds worth of Googling, like I found like a behind the scenes photo of the prosthetics, like on the mold.
Yeah.
Not on its face yet. I'm like, oh, okay. Well then, obviously.
No. And I think it's so weird. Like people get really weird about celebrity plastic surgery. Like Summer Walker got her nose done like within the last year or so. So now it's like very thinned out. Think of what Bella Hadid, probably Gigi too, but I think I was looking at her picture the other day. Bella like looking totally different 5 years ago. She lost her double chin, her nose got smaller, and people get like weirdly invested. Like, oh my God, how could you do this to yourself? You're so beautiful. Blah 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 blah. So I saw tweets that day, and somebody was like, "Oh, I'm so disappointed in the Weeknd," and I like tweeted back to them, and I was like, "For putting on makeup for a music video?"
Right, yeah.
And they just like totally ignored it. But the people that were like feeding into that narrative, they were commenting back. And I was like, either you're trolling or you're just dumb. Like, it's really weird. And I saw like several tweets about it, and I was like, oh my God, there's no way that the internet is this stupid. Like,
well,
it's obvious that it's makeup. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah. It just kind of, it peeved me. Very much so. It peeved me. just don't be dumb. Like, that's all I ask of you, America, and wherever else you might be, because the internet stupidity does not only sit here in the Americas, although it does tend to seem that way, and I get it, but that stupidity is widespread throughout the world. Just don't be stupid. Do your Googles. Also, go watch that video. It's pretty funny. It's a good video.
So it is a brand new year, 2021, and fingers crossed that it goes much better than last year did. Knock on wood that it goes much better. But along with the new
shaky start,
right, right, 7-day free trial. Not so sure about that.
Right.
So along with the new year, and this happens every year, but a lot of older films, books, music. After a certain point, I believe it is the length of the author's life plus 70 years. Once that time limit has passed, all those things go into public domain, and you can do whatever you want with them. You can sell them. There's no restrictions. Literally, you can do whatever you want. So this New Year's, a lot of stuff went into public domain, but the one that everyone's kind of talking about is The Great Gatsby is now in public domain. Now, if you know me at all, you know that my favorite book is The Great Gatsby.
I see there?
Well, and I'm wearing the sweatshirt in celebration of it. Anyway, so that is now in the public domain, and a lot of people have been saying, here are some of the adaptations that need to happen right now. Mm-hmm. Because, people can do it. And this list, I'm like, I don't think these need to be a thing. And there's some that I can get behind, but a lot of them I'm like, no, that's not necessary. So I thought we could go down this list. The first one at the top, and I am all for this one. This is one that I will I'm totally fine with. A Muppets version of The Great Gatsby. I actually really like the Muppets. I've always been a fan of the Muppets. I really like the Muppets. So that one I can get behind.
Okay. That's weird.
Well, it's the Muppets. The next one is a jazz and hip hop musical starring Jamie Foxx. I'm confused because the last movie that they made about The Great Gatsby was almost like that. They had a lot of jazz music. They had a lot of hip hop music. Didn't have Jamie Foxx, but I
didn't watch it.
Well, that's okay.
Sorry.
A lot of people didn't.
The next all one, things Great Gatsby, just
right over your head,
except for this meme.
The next one is a gender swapped version. Everybody's making gender swap version stuff.
Yeah, we've already ruled gender swaps out. Yeah. It's just not
a viable.
It's okay to just not do it.
Right. A version set 300 years in the future.
Futuristic Gatsby.
The book is about the jazz. Anyway.
Right.
Like what? The next one is a more prohibition-related mobster story. That could be interesting, but why does it need to be Gatsby-related? Just make it a prohibition mobster story.
Yeah. Why can't it just be its own thing?
Right. This next one makes no sense to me. It says, The Great Gatsby, but make it fantasy. What?
Isn't that what a nonfiction... I'm sorry, what a fiction...
Right.
...novel is? Not real, thus it's...
Right. This next one I am completely against. I do not want to see this at all. A modern teen drama show.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
I do not need to see Great Gatsby like Riverdale.
All the teenagers are going to be 26, 27-year-olds.
Right. Played by 30-year-olds, yeah.
Dude, you have a whole neck beard and you're supposed to be 14? Like, I don't believe you.
Stop but why do we need... the teen drama show is just the most awful genre of television out there. And...
Yeah.
It just doesn't... Anyway. You got two more. You got a Disney-fied version with animated animals.
No thanks.
Why?
No thanks.
Are people just they're just like, oh, that would be funny.
You're bored.
That's literally, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And this last one, I don't know. Did you ever read The Great Gatsby?
No.
Okay, well.
I can't even
This last one you won't understand. But it's a book from Myrtle's point of view. To quickly gloss over this, Myrtle is the mistress of one of the main characters, and he's cheating on his wife with Myrtle. But Myrtle's kind of like a gross, like ugly kind of, it's more of just like a fling thing for the guy. But Myrtle ends up getting run over by a car, and there's like a really graphic like section where it like describes like what her body looks like after getting run over by a car. So I'm thinking like, if there's a book from Myrtle's, is that how the book ends? Like, yeah. I walked out the door and got hit by a car at the end. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
There's going to be lots of little asterisks with sound effects in the middle. Honk. Pow.
Scream, yeah. Splat. Yeah. I guess it could be interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, no thanks. We don't need it. We don't need any of that. So, I mean, besides for maybe the two that would be interesting, I definitely Muppets version. I want a Muppets version. But everything else now you can just toss it out the window. I'm telling you, I like the Muppets.
That seems like the only like feasible one though. Like people love the Muppets.
Right.
Muppets like reenacting or redoing popular like
Right. Well, and they can make it funny. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the Muppets Wizard of Oz. Like, it was hilarious because it didn't take itself seriously. You know, it wasn't like a straight up adaptation of Wizard of Oz. No, it was, anyway.
Muppified. It could be interesting. Like I said, I need to go back at some point and at least watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna lie to myself. Like I'll make the time to read the book, but
Right.
at least I'll watch the movie. That way, I'll finally be caught up. What is it? Almost 10 years later to what everybody has been talking about.
Yeah.
So I know, like once the movie came out, we were in high school, like early years of high school.
2013.
Yeah, so like almost at the end of our high school stretch, and everybody was like, "Oh, Great Gatsby, this and that." And
Yeah.
I had never read the book in any of the classes or anything, so I'll go get caught up and then revisit how I feel about these adaptations. Hold it steady. All right, so this week we are finally going to reintroduce I can't really say a fan favorite, but it's at least a favorite of ours. Bomb of the Week.
Oh, yeah.
So Bomb of the Week is typically where we just drop to you whatever the most like shocking news of the last week or so was. Sometimes it's funny stuff. Sometimes it's shocking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's very like real. This is just a nice mix of the three.
Right.
Just take those three factors and just braid them all together with a little dash of Florida man behavior.
Yeah.
And this week's Bomb of the Week is about the domestic terrorism that we witnessed just a few days ago. We're just going to call it what it was.
Yeah.
By now, you all know really what happened. Even if you are listening to this outside of the Americas, I'm sure you heard about it because we are the laughingstock of the entire world. We deal with things that none of you all are dealing with,
Right.
such as still having to worry about COVID because everybody else, wherever you may be, probably knew how to just sit down, knock it out. And some of you are back to like full normal life concerts and everything.
Yeah.
No, not here. So we had a bunch of Karens, and is there a male version of Karens yet? Do we have a name for male Karens?
I don't think so. I can't even think of what the equivalent would be.
Let's go with Bobs.
Okay.
I like Bobs. So we had a storm of Bobs and Karens decide to take their talents or lack thereof to Washington, D.C. Because for them, it just can't be possible that their Lord and Savior, Donald J. Trump, could have lost a presidential election. There had to have been some sort of behind the scenes tampering to have gone on for him to have lost, which I think if any of us are being realistic, had he not been running against a woman whose name was Hillary Clinton the first time, he probably would have lost then. But whatever. So these people are just thoroughly dissatisfied.
Yes.
So we know that you all are meeting here today. By you all, I mean highly important government officials talking about important things in relation to our country. We know that you're going to be here today. So what we're going to do, hear me out, we're going to have a protest. But by protest, I mean we are all going to congregate and then invade what should be one of the most secure places you would think in our nation. Trash the place, take a bunch of pictures, do illegal things like go into people's offices, take their mail, steal their laptop. Oh, I can't wait for whatever idiot stole that laptop to like turn it on in their house. And SWAT's gonna kick down their door so fast. Like life is gonna hit you real quick. You just think of those like TikToks. It's like, oh no, oh no, like that's what's gonna happen. No, but anyway, so you look at all of this stuff that happens, right?
Yeah,
and you're just thinking to yourself, was this always this easy? I mean, not that I ever had a reason to storm a Capitol or anything like that, but was it that easy? Like, could I just?
I think I said something to you like that. I was like, if I had known that as a white person, it would have been so easy for me to just walk up the stairs and not be stopped. Why was I not doing this a long time ago? You know what I mean?
Who would have thunk it, right? And
well,
my other thing.
Go ahead, and I'll go.
I just think I like a lot of times, and this might shock people with me being a black person. They're like, "There's
Right.
no way everything to you must be about race." Well, contrary to your stupid, closed-minded popular belief, a lot of black people don't like to make things about race, but some things you just simply can't deny.
Yeah.
Especially when 2020 was filled with protests and demonstrations in relation to Black Lives Matter. And hey, cops, like, we understand you have a job to do. Nobody's telling you don't do your job, but maybe consider alternative means to emptying a clip in somebody's body,
Right.
or kneeling on them until they can't breathe. Like, maybe just detain them like you're trained to do. Like, everything doesn't have to be lethal. And oh my God forbid that people were advocating for not killing people. Like, well, they're criminals. Okay, that's fine. Just arrest them. Like, it's cool that they're criminals. Nobody's denying. If somebody literally did something that's a criminal offense, nobody's telling you don't pursue them. Just don't kill them. Like, it's okay to not kill them.
Yeah.
No, they didn't want to hear that. And then if they did die, there's always some explanation, like, well, he's a drug addict. Okay, but in the moment, did drug addicts deserve to die? Is that what you're telling me? Like, what?
Yeah.
You know, so there's always a shifting of the goalpost. And then these are protests, it's violence, thugs, but you're storming the Capitol. Some of you have zip ties, which, what are you planning to do? Are you planning to take hostages of government officials? Like,
right.
And then there's Blue Lives Matter. You were fighting cops in the streets the night before. One cop got beaten to death with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
You're pushing through cops doing their job. You know, like, the goalpost is constantly moved when it's the Trump, scenario or perspective. What's the word I really wanted to use? I don't know. Anyway, when it's the Black Lives Matter thing, it's like, oh, well, here's all of these things. You shouldn't break the law. You shouldn't destroy property. You shouldn't do this. You should respect our country. All of these things are disrespectful to America and our officials. And okay, well, what about this? Like, you're trying to form a coup and overthrow the government or something, and like, what?
Right.
It's weird. And then the lady that did get killed, there's literally footage of them telling her, "Don't come through this window."
Right.
And she climbs up into the windowsill, kapow, gets killed. Right? Like, I'm pointing a gun at you, telling you don't do this. What happened to all you have to do is comply? Well, don't break the law. Don't do this. But then people are like, she didn't have to die. What? Like, I don't understand the constant shifting of the goalpost here. Like, things, narrative. There it is. Like, it to make it work for your narrative, somehow the same set of laws that you had for other protests, because what you were doing wasn't a protest, the same set of like rules you had for protests in regards to Black lives, suddenly those same rules don't apply to you, and whatever this domestic terrorism protest is. Like, what?
I mean, the thing I wanted to say, and I'll kind of say it quickly because I don't want to spend too much time on this, because we could go all day about this. We could have a whole episode about this.
We really could.
The fact that they were having a protest about something that they cannot change, and the way that makes sense is like, okay, every single avenue to either combat the fraud or find the fraud or whatever could have been done was done.
And
the general conclusion was that there was no major voter fraud. Then even if there was any sort of fraud at all, it was not enough to change the results.
Exactly.
And January 6th is the final stage to get the results confirmed so that people can move on to the next stage. You know what I mean? You protesting, I mean, whether or not they thought they could have done something or not, you protesting is not going to do anything.
Not a thing.
It's not going to do a single thing. A little bit. Right. And again, I don't know whether they thought it was or it was just more about, well, we just want our voices heard. That's totally fine. Nobody was saying you couldn't protest.
Yeah, cool story.
But taking it to that next level is what is wrong in my
You
opinion.
know, and it's the logic and the reasoning, or I guess I should say the lack thereof, because I'm just not understanding what were you expecting to accomplish.
Right.
Like we said, the results are the results, dude. Like it's over. It is what it is. Um, and it's been proven and recounted more times than probably any election in our history
Yeah.
that like this is done. And here you are still complaining about it, still thinking something's going to change about it, when ultimately it will not. And
Right.
also, like the behavior there, what were you planning to accomplish? Like, really, what
Right.
was the goal there? And then, like I said, for the woman that ended up having to kind of be the sacrificial lamb of this movement,
Yeah.
what what? And just what were you doing? And
Right.
I don't understand where all of this like stuff about respect went out of the window. Like, respect our troops, respect our cops, respect our government. But now all of a sudden, conveniently,
Right.
a couple months later, now that this is the government is doing something against what you feel is right,
Then it's
just
okay.
screw the government. We're
Right.
gonna take them as hostages or like try to strong arm them. And then good old Donnie boy, has historically denounced like the looting and the destruction of property when some of these other protests have gone on, which like I'll never say that the looting was acceptable. Of course, you probably not probably, but you shouldn't be destroying businesses or
Yeah.
screwing over small business, because they're definitely going to be screwed after the fact.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's not going to change what the real issue is.
Mm-hmm.
So I do get condemning that, but you wanted to throw out words like thugs and criminals and this and that.
Yeah.
But then when people are committing acts of domestic terrorism, good old Donnie had a video saying, "We understand you're frustrated about this fraud, and it's the biggest whatever." Everything's always the biggest with him, of course.
Right.
We love you is though what he said. We love you. Go home and then be safe, like something along those lines. Like what?
Yeah.
This is terrorism, Donald. Like we
Yeah.
love you, but other people were thugs and criminals. But then also don't forget that the Nazis were very fine people. So it's not really a shocker. What I will say that's come from this that's been funny, a lot of those people that were viral in some of these pictures you've seen have been arrested now.
Yep.
There's also plenty of videos of people trying to fly home from DC. They can't fly because you're on a no-fly list now.
Yep.
It's like karma. Like this is just great to watch, because you thought you were just gonna go home,
Yep.
like nothing ever happened, and then all of you were like putting this stuff on social media. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And some of these people are like, there was lawyers there was actual people that do have government jobs, and like you're posting on Facebook, hey, look at me, I'm at the Capitol building storming in it and committing terrorism and destruction of property. Like one bozo had his work ID hanging from his jacket. So not only do I see your face, I see the badge of where you
Right.
work, and
I
I
know
can
where you
probably
work.
enhance this image to see your name now.
Yeah.
And half of these people are like against masks for coronavirus reasons because it's not real to them.
Right.
But even while I'm committing illegal acts, I'm not going to hide my face. I'm just going to boldly, yep, here I am. Look, everybody, let me get on Instagram Live. Look what we're doing.
Big old dummy.
You got to be a special brand of stupid. And I know we've always thought that about these people, but like, God, you really are that stupid. Like, it was amazing. So it was a bomb of the week in more ways than one. It just mind blowing for sure.
So the new season means that our favorite segment is not going anywhere. It's been there since the beginning, and it will be there until its bitter, painful end, whatever date that may be. But this kind of carries into the previous topic we talked about. But I'm sure everyone has seen it. It's been he's been the poster child for this for this insurrection at the Capitol. But the man that was carrying the lectern and like standing there and like waving and smiling, he's a Florida man. And like most of the other people that have been identified, he has been arrested. and is now in jail.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
It's just funny because you can put up that picture of him waving and smiling, put it up next to his mugshot, and see the vast difference of emotion between the two. It's.
I think, which is a perfect segue from our bomb of the week, but I think that was probably the funniest thing about this whole thing. First of all, when I segued into the original bomb, I said there's a sprinkle of Florida. Who knew that he was the much needed sprinkle of Florida? But it's how like happy these people looked doing these things that you're definitely gonna go to jail for.
Right.
Like the guy that's in Pelosi's office with his feet on her desk, and then walking around with a piece of her mail, like, and letting people take pictures of him. You do know that's illegal.
That's illegal, dude.
Right? Like, even if it was just your neighbor, you can't steal their mail, but you definitely a government official. And then, like, something me and my friends are always saying, we caught you in 4K. Like, this is the most HD this could possibly be. This is you. We see you doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I love how happy he was. Like, aside from the serious of this, the insurrection honestly was one of the funniest days. As far as social media goes, he just looks so happy walking away with his little podium. Hey guys! 3 days later, like the sound of the jail cell closing. Sorry, buddy. It's not how life works. Of course, always the saddest part of the show. It's the part where we say until next week. I do just want to say, first and foremost, thank you all for listening and or watching.
Yes.
And it feels really good to be back. Although it was only like 3 weeks, it did feel like a long time to go without like doing this, you know?
No, it was a much needed break, but also, you know, I missed it.
Yeah, I definitely
used to not you know, being there to do it. So
exactly, like obviously we still text each other quite often. If you guys don't know by now, we're pretty good friends. So we still talk to each other on a weekly basis. But it was weird, like not saying, "Okay, you ready to shoot the show?"
Right.
Or like people are asking about the podcast. I'm like, "Oh no, we're on a like little brief hiatus. We're gonna come back in a couple weeks." Like, hey, when are you recording this week? Actually, I'm not. So it was weird.
Yeah.
And then also with COVID, it wasn't really much of a vacation break because all you're doing is sticking with your normal dull and mundane life.
Right.
It's not like I could go to vacation somewhere for a week or two.
I did want to make sure that people know where they can follow us on social media because we are pretty much everywhere. We are on Facebook now, just at Non-Experts Podcast, or if you just search Non-Experts Podcast, you'll find us. Twitter, Non-Experts Pod, because it was too long anyway. And then Instagram, Non-Experts Podcast. And then YouTube, obviously, if you're watching this, then you know we're on YouTube. But if you're listening, we make a video version of this that you can go watch on YouTube. I wish you would. It takes a lot of time to edit, and I don't want it to go in vain. So please do. Even if you listen on one day and then watch on the other, just consider it. And if you're following us on one social media and not on the other, go and jump over to the other one and follow us there, because we're kind of posting different things on different platforms. And so just the best way to kind of keep informed or just see what's going on. Just make sure you're followed to all of them, because we wouldn't have them if we didn't use them.
Let us consume your life,
please,
on all sides.
If you can't trust Fox News and you can't trust CNN, we'll be there in the middle, and you can trust us. It's in the title. We're not experts.
We had no reasons to lie because we don't even really know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Also, something we did talk about over our course of our break, going back, and most of you probably didn't even notice because you probably don't even really know who these people are. There was a little bit of confusion with our Jake Paul story. There was a couple overlapping things that some of them were actually Logan Paul, not Jake. Also, Logan was the one that got in trouble with Facebook, or YouTube, not Jake. And it just dawned on me like a week ago. I was like, wait a minute. there are some inconsistencies in
Yep.
that story. But first and foremost, we're non-experts, so
Right.
you shouldn't expect me to know all of the facts. Also, the majority of you listening probably don't know nor care about either of those two people. So the fact that we formed their two life stories into one
Mm-hmm.
person should be okay.
Yeah.
It was something funny because I texted Chris. I was like, "Hey, we got this a little wrong." Chris
And
was
you know
like,
what my
"Oh
first
well."
reaction was?
What?
Oh well.
Like, I was sitting there. I was like, "Hmm." Too late now. I don't care.
Right.